Hi and welcome. Today we'll be doing a quick tutorial on the I Love Autumn painting, which happens to be the next painting for our paint night event. Here I'm just showing you the colors that we're going to be using: white, black, a green, a lighter green, a blue, and a slightly lighter blue, a yellow, and a color that's similar to yellow but a little stronger. I chose orange. Let me just set those aside. So the first color we're actually going to be using is blue. I'm going to add it to my color palette. For this painting, we're actually going to be needing a watercolor a palette bigger than 6 colors. So if you maybe have a plate or another paint palette, that would be really helpful. For first step, we'll be using blue as well as light blue. First, if you got your light blue, you can just apply a thin layer, kind of just like the lines you see on a pond or a body of water. You can't actually see, but I added some water to my brush. I kept the brush wet, and that's why the paint doesn't look like as strong. It looks like it's really watered down. So as I'm building the area of where my water or my pond is going to be, I made the lines very uneven, so you can clearly see that some parts are lighter, and you can see that some parts are much more visible. Now I move up with the same color, light blue, but this time I mix a lot more water. This would be kind of like our background. As I get a little bit more closer to the bottom, I add more color to give it more richer, darker overlay. Just to let you know, this entire painting will only require one brush. However, your brush may be a little bit damaged if it's on the lower quality. Like the brush you're seeing, the one I'm using right now, it wasn't that expensive. When I finished the painting, it was actually quite ruffled up. So if you have expensive brushes and you're gonna use just like that one expensive brush for the whole painting, I do not personally recommend that. So as you can see, around the sides I kept the color of light blue a little much darker. Try to keep the middle in kind of like a circular form or composition, if that's a word you're more familiar with, as the lightest part. Most of the lightest part just means there is more water than paint. Now I finally took the darker blue, and it's only for the parts that are meant to be darker. So further down or around where the supposed highlight part is, I made it look kind of like bushes. The bushes are more grouped up on the left and right. In this part over here, where I'm like coloring under, I used more paint rather than water, just to keep the color way more darker, like I explained before. If you want it to be way lighter, add more water and less paint. And if you want it more darker, then think of it the other way around. Now, if you have your green next to you, you can take the green, dark green, and if you have black, this is a good chance to take that out as well. This is kind of like part 2 of step 1. It may sound like a lot of steps, but don't worry, you'll be fine. So, the first color we're using is black. We're going to be adding in between the body of water and the background colors that I kind of did. Now, I found this to be quite helpful, to be doing things in circular motion. If you think you have a different way, a more comfortable way, a preferred way, you're free to do that as well. Now, maybe you heard of this word before, but the black, the blue, the light blue, this is, well, it technically serves as our underpainting. It's the first layer that we're going to add, and it's supposed to build the foundation of our final piece. Now, if you still have some light blue or dark blue, you could just use that to fill in the spaces between the black and the body of water. It will mix a little, so don't overwork it too much. Don't brush it around too much. Just go around it, add it. If you kind of mix the blue with the mix the blue over the black too much, the black would easily mix and kind of make the blue really messy. Now, I also had the chance to take some of the dark blue to make some strokes or lines in the body of water. It's to show some shadows, darker parts, to make the lighter blue stand out a bit more. To be more specific, I put the darker blue only on the edges, so like on the shore or around the black underpainting. Now, if you have your green as well as your light green, we'll be moving to the next step. So please get those colors ready. Now, you probably know what we're going to use the green for. Now, before we actually move on to that step, please do check if the black is dry enough. If it's slightly wet, that's perfectly fine. If you got your dark green, we'll just be adding it not in swirl motions, but kind of like blades, using the side of a brush or using the corner of a brush to make blades. In certain corners, the blades might look more compact, they might look more bigger, and then farther away, more to the grass, it might start to look a bit smaller. I want you to keep on doing the same, kind of add, it's kind of like green clouds, but on the floor or on the ground. and in this case, around the body of water, over the black underpainting. Again, try not to overwork it too much. If the black is still slightly wet and you kind of overwork it, the black will mix with the paint that you're applying. From here, we'll be able to take our light green. This part is a little easier. We'll just use the corner of our brush and kind of make dots. Stipple some dots. Again, some areas maybe more, some areas maybe less. And we'll be stippling these lighter green dots above the dark green that we just applied. To make it easier for you to tell you where to do it, think of it like the light from the sun that's reflecting off of a bush, or like a green bush. This light green is meant to kind of show that highlight. Now, if you notice, I left a big chunk of the black still, well, here. I didn't paint over it. And that's just because I personally wanted to save paint. I know what the final piece is going to look like. But if you happen to paint it, or paint it over it, no problem. I just wanted to save some space for the final step. I'm sorry for not telling you, but don't worry. At the end of the video, I am sure that you have completed a stunning painting. You can pause the video right now. This is where you should be getting a second color palette, because the amount of colors that we're using today is quite a few. Well, more than 6. Now, believe it or not, we're actually almost done. If you take your black paint, we're actually going to be adding our large tree. From here, I kind of started out with the branches. I did the side branch, a little bit medium sized. Did the trunk, the branch in the middle. And from here, I kind of made a more longer branch to take up more space in the rest of the canvas. Imagine the tree trunk is sprouting from the left side, which is where I left that space. If it's sprouting from the left side, the branches should take up more space in the top right. So, if you want to make these branches, especially the branches on the right, a bit longer is completely fine. Of course, these branches, they're a colorful tree. It's gonna be autumn. You don't need to color all the branches with exact detail. Here I just kind of drafted out where the branches might be, where some smaller ones, longer ones, whatever. And just gonna finish up the rest of the tree trunk. In this case, I made it stick close to the bush. When I'm done my tree, and I just fill in the rest with the dark green and the light green. Almost done. If you have some red and yellow, sorry, you can pause the video. If you have your red and yellow ready, you can take the red out and kind of just take the corner of your brush. You can kind of softly or use a bit of force to tap the branches. Here you may have guessed, we're adding leaves. For about the first half of the branches, or the top half of the branches, try to add only red. Don't try to go under on the lower half. Now, for the lower half, we're going to be using yellow. We're using the same technique. While the red is still slightly wet, we're doing the same technique with yellow, going on the lower half. Again, try not to overwork it too much. If the black is still a bit dirty, it will mix with the yellow. However, what we do want to kind of work a bit more is the yellow on the lower half that's touching the red. If we kind of work it a bit more, red mixing with yellow, we get a orange highlight. That way, we get 3 different colors while only using 2 and only 1 technique. Wow, done. Believe it or not, that was it. There was nothing else to do. You made a lovely autumn-themed painting. If you happen to have some leftover paint, this is a good opportunity to add some final highlights. Water has reflections, and above the water, we have a lovely red, orange, yellow tree. That's why I am adding those leftover colors over the bodies of water in the form of lines. Thin little lines to represent that the color of the leaves is reflecting off of the water. In this case, I only did it on the right side and not the left, because that's where the brightest part is. As when it's closer to the bushes, it's slightly darker. That's why I kind of avoided adding any color there. Yeah, that's it. If you're interested in actually participating in these in-person painting events, check out the website down in the description below, and see you next time.